Hey, what's up you guys? It's Annie. Welcome back to my channel where I help you to grow your YouTube channel from the ground up. And in today's video, I want to share with you guys a few tips, tricks, and methods to edit some custom thumbnails for your YouTube videos, and more specifically, how to edit thumbnails that actually get views. So I'm going to split this video into two different sections. In the first part, I'm going to share with you guys a list of like best practices and tips from YouTube on what is considered a really good clickable thumbnail. And then in the second portion, I will show you guys how I edit my own thumbnails because I get questions on that literally every single day. So let's first look at the list of the best practices. I really hope I don't get in trouble for this because this is from a paid TubeBuddy tool, so fingers crossed I don't get in trouble. So the first tip is to use bright colors and high contrast images, meaning if you want a thumbnail that sticks out to people, you want it to be bright and colorful and high contrast and basically jump out at people among the other thumbnails on the recommended page or sub box or anything else. Now, a very common misconception is that you have to have a super expensive camera or DSLR camera to have high quality images, but having a bright and colorful picture is actually all in the editing, because this is my thumbnail before I edit it and this is when I'm done with it. So definitely all of the bright colors and the like contrast of the image is all in the editing and does not matter what you actually take the picture with. But I'll get more into that in the editing portion of this video. So then tip number 2 is include a close-up of a face whenever possible. Now this has actually been statistically proven that the majority of thumbnails that actually get views and clicks usually has either a person or a person's face in them. Maybe it's for like emotional connection or something, but for whatever reason it has been proven that thumbnails with a human face in them get more clicks than those that don't. And if you look at the recommended page or the sub box, most videos that have more views than others usually have a face in the thumbnails, proving that it is that important and actually does have a factor in getting views. So when you are taking your video thumbnails, you want to try to get your face in there as often as possible. Then tip number 3 is to ensure text is big and easy to read. So if somebody has to like squint or get super close to the screen to actually be able to read your thumbnail, that's not very good. Because again, just like the picture, you want the text to actually jump out at them and get them excited to click onto your video. So again, if you look at the recommended page and look at the videos that have the most amount of views, they usually have very big, very bright, easy to read text, and that is what helps them to get more views. And then the next tip, I actually really love that they included, use fonts, colors, and shapes that are consistent with your brand. Now this is so important because a lot of people tend to think if I copy her thumbnail style or his thumbnail style, if it worked for them, it's obviously going to work for me. But if I think of somebody like 𝚂𝙸𝙬𝙗 or David Dobrik or Lord DIY, they all have very distinct like themes and like branding to their thumbnails that basically makes their thumbnail stand out amongst other people's thumbnails. So you don't want to be copying somebody else's branding, you want to make your own. So that is something else I was actually very glad they included. So now that I've shared with you guys all of the tips, tricks, and best methods for thumbnail editing, now I'm going to show you guys how I edit my own thumbnails. And I know this sounds like super lame, but please try not to copy my thumbnails like word for word, because when I made this video on my main channel, somebody who was subscribed to me and made very similar videos as I did basically copied every single aspect of my thumbnails, and it was just a little bit kind of like disheartening to see somebody else take over your branding. So just try not to be that person, take inspiration, but not like word for word every detail. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the screen recording on my phone. Alright, so the very first app I edit with is Lightroom. So Lightroom is what I use for all of my like thumbnail editing, my Instagram editing, and like all sorts of editing. So let's say I'm going to use this picture here. Let's put this back to the original, and as you can see, like I said before the actual editing, it is still a pretty dark, unedited, uncolorful picture. So first thing I do in Lightroom is I swipe over to auto. So auto basically like auto adjusts your picture, so it fixes all of the contrast, the lighting, the colors, and just tries to make it like as good and natural looking as possible. So then I slide back on over to presets, and as you can tell, I have quite a bit of presets here in Lightroom, but the ones I use for my thumbnails are bold, cool, and cooler. So I think for this one, I'm gonna go with cool. Yeah, so I will hit the check mark, and then I basically swipe over to the color tab and go to the mix. So in mix, this is basically how you can mess with different colors within your thumbnail, add colors, take away colors. So I like to turn down the yellow in here because I don't like that like yellow tint to my skin, looks kind of unnatural. And then I mess around with the orange. So usually I turn up the saturation and turn down the luminance to kind of give myself a bit of like a fake tan, I guess, to kind of look a little bit more like natural and human, if that makes sense, to not be washed out by the white background of my thumbnails. Then maybe add a little bit of contrast. Honestly, I never have the same like quote unquote recipe for all my thumbnails. It really depends on like the lighting it was taken in, how my skin looks that day, what I was wearing that day, and like so many other factors. So I just kind of mess around with all of these settings once the preset is on until it looks as I want it to. So then once I'm done, I hit the arrow at the top, go to export and save to my phone. So then once I'm done in Lightroom, I go into FaceTune 2, and there are two different things I do in this app. So I hit the picture button to open the picture I just edited in Lightroom. So the first thing I do here is I scroll over to defocus and I hit the auto tool, pull that up all the way, go to the light and turn that up all the way. And as you can see, it makes the picture super blurry, but it also just blurred like my hand and the computer, which I don't want. So I go to the defocus tool and hit the eraser and basically just erase everything I don't want to have blurred and leave everything else blurred that I do want to have blurred. That looks pretty good. Yeah, so then I hit the check mark and then slide on over to the retouch tool, go to the whiten feature and just whiten everything in the picture that is white. I just really love doing this because it makes it look super bright and it really pops on like the recommended page and the sub box. Now obviously I would never edit like an Instagram picture this dramatically, but again, thumbnails are to get clicks on your video, so I do want them to be super bright and colorful and really just stand out on the recommended page or wherever else. So once I'm done with that, I hit the check mark and then the arrow at the top and save, which then saves it to my camera roll. So then the next app I use is, where is it? PicsArt. So inside of PicsArt, I hit the plus button and bring up the picture I just edited and then go to tools and crop, then slide over to the YouTube, and this is what basically gives it the exact YouTube sizing because YouTube is very particular about their thumbnail sizing, so this is the YouTube sizing. So then I hit apply and again then hit next and then save to camera roll and then download photo, which puts it in your camera roll. So then I go into Fonto and I hit the camera, go to photo albums and then pick the picture I just edited. So then I tap in the middle and go to add text and I hit center to center the text and then type in what I wanted to say. So something like how to edit thumbnails, something like that. Then hit done and go to style. So in style, I go to stroke, I turn the alpha up to 100 and the width to about 10. Then go to style again, go to shadow and turn the alpha up to 100. Then go to spacing and do about -5 or so, I'd say. And then I will just change the sizing until it fits on the picture and nothing is like cut off or anything. Then I add a second text as the like subtext, and this will be something like get more views or something like that. Again, center, done, and do the exact same thing, except I change the text color to this like yellowish color. Go to stroke, alpha again, put the width up to 10, put the shadow up to 10, spacing to about 4 or 5, done. Then I like to make this one a little bit smaller than the main text so that it really gives it that like text and subtext type of vibe, and this is what it looks like. So once I'm done with that, I hit the arrow and then save as PNG. So then I go back into PicsArt. So in PicsArt, I will again hit the little plus at the bottom, then bring up the thumbnail I just edited, and this is how I add all of my little like overlays in PicsArt. So I will go over to the add photo button and pick one of my thumbnails. So this is a thumbnail I used on on one of my videos this week on my main channel, so I will add that. And basically the idea is that because the video is about thumbnails, I want to have one of my thumbnails in the picture. So this is the thumbnail that I have for one of my other videos, and to make it sort of like pop a lot more on the picture, I will slide over to the shadow, turn the blur and opacity both to 100, then go to position and move that both to 0. So then as you can see, it adds kind of like a drop shadow slash like a little blur to the back of the thumbnail and kind of makes it pop more on the actual picture of the thumbnail. So this will range depending on what the thumbnail is about, what the video is about. Sometimes if it's for my YouTube growth channel, I will add something like a statistic or analytical screenshot, just kind of like give off the vibe of the video, just to kind of like add something else to it. So then once I'm done with that, then I hit apply and again go to next. I hit save and then download photo. And then if I go into my Photos app, then here is the fully edited thumbnail that we've taken from this and turned into this. So that, you guys, is it for this video. Those are all my tips on how to edit thumbnails and how I make my own thumbnails. Hopefully if thumbnails are something you're trying to work on or improve upon, hopefully this was helpful to you and gave you a few new ideas. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love you all to the moon and back, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!